us put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Our Heavenly Father, we offer you our thanksgiving. We thank you for everyone gathered here today to walk with you. May we ask you for your blessings and guidance so that the activities set for this undertaking be successful. We ask you to open our eyes to see the wonderful things from this activity. We ask that you open our ears so that we may retain the invaluable knowledge. Open our minds for us to think wisely. Put us with understanding, cooperation, and peace in fulfilling our responsibilities. Open our hearts so that we may receive your everlasting love, and open our spirit so that we may know that you are with us all throughout the day. We ask all this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Naghanap ng picture. Okay, Teacher Riza. Sa Adler Day. Sa Darwin. Bakit? Ay, yung ano?
Bayang mag-iliw,
Para sa silanganan,
Ano
ang
ng init?
puso sa dibdib mo'y buhay.
lupang hinilang,
Ang tuyang ka na magiting,
taman lulubig,
di ko masisi, sa dagat at lupa, sa sipit at sa langit matumaw.
may dalagang tula at ahos sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng wataw at lu'y tagumpay na nagnilinhin. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may imatinin. Lupa ng araw ng walhatit ng sinta, uwenangit sa piling ko. Ang ligaya na bangkay mamangit, ang mamatay ng kalinso.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our event for today, and to our esteemed administrators, our dedicated teachers, our supportive parents who are, I think, watching at home together with their children, our talented students, our honored guests, and friends of St. Patrick's School of Quezon City in the Philippines. Today, we gather for an enriching Patrician Integrative Learning Experience session, or what we call the PILE, focused on the crucial topic of research, particularly data analysis. And this session serves as a platform for our students to engage deeply with analytical skills necessary for navigating today's data-driven world. Our PILE session aims to enhance critical thinking, encourage our students to assess and interpret data effectively, and to promote collaborative learning, foster teamwork and collective problem solving among our students. To integrate, of course, technology, equip students with digital tools for data analysis, and more importantly, align with the Matatag curriculum and ensure that our learning experiences are progressive, relevant, and aligned with the national educational standards. It is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed guest speaker, Professor Dr. Siham El Kafafi from New Zealand, an international expert and professor renowned for her work in research methodologies and um, many other programs. And Dr. El Kafafi is not only a global advisor of St. Patrick's School, but also a passionate advocate for education, for sustainable development goals, and she will prepare, or she will help our students on the challenges ahead as they pursue their works primarily about research. Let's all warmly welcome our guest speaker for this morning, Professor Dr. Siham El Kafafi from New Zealand. Dr. Siham, the Zoom floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Derry. It's a pleasure to be with you here. I'm so humbled with your kind introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever, which part in the world you are. It is right now just after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Wednesday here. We are way deep into our day. Um, I would like to have a special thanks, of course, for St. Patrick's School, for Dr. Derry, for all the attending students, leaving everything and coming to listen, humble little me, and also to colleagues, to teachers, to administrators, to everybody who is logging in today. I can see we reached 145 and they still keep on coming. I hope that I would achieve just a drop in the ocean of knowledge in this wild, huge world. I always, when I introduce myself to my students, when I start a new semester, I just tell them that their success is my reward. And I do mean it. My mission and passion in life is that to give back, to be able to give knowledge, information, my experience, whatever I've been through, to help others. Help others, whether in their personal lives, whether in their professional lives, as much as possible. I believe that God brought us down on this earth to be a support to each other, to help each other. We have a saying back home where I originally come from, Egypt, that heaven without people is not heaven. You would not enjoy it without people. So, in other words, we all need each other. We all grow with each other. So, as Dr. Dari mentioned, the key word, which is collaboration. And that word is very important. It's very important in the field of teamwork when you're working together. It is a key word that we stress on and talk about a lot when I talk about innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship. And I always use the analogy of that you cannot clap with one hand. You need two hands to clap with. So, and the Western saying, it takes two to tango, and another saying, two brains is better than one. And, I can keep on telling you analogies and sayings until tomorrow. But no, we are going to concentrate today. And if I may share my screen, please, to share with you what is, yes. So, yeah. So, is this, here it is. I'm trying to make it big. Okay. I hope that everybody can see clearly. Is that visible for everybody? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
visible.
yeah. So the title for today is that Unlocking Insights, Navigating Qualitative and Quantitative Data Analysis and Research. But having said that in the title, I am going to concentrate more on qualitative data. I'm a little bit biased, somewhat due to my nature and my love for people and love for going into more depth of knowing about things. So what I'm going to be talking about today, I'm just going to provide an introduction, an objective, introduce the research and data analysis, the different types, the differences between qualitative and quantitative, an overview about quantitative, and then I'm going to go more into depth about qualitative and its process, its techniques, its challenges, and best practice, and then conclude. So yes, you already know about me, and that's enough. So the objective is that I would like to, at the end, we always look as educators at the outcome. What is the end result? What we want. I'd like to provide you with a comprehensive understanding, a snippet about the quantitative and a more detailed about qualitative. I would like to attract your attention about a lot of things. It's a huge field, the data analysis. And when I come and show you each one of them, you are going to at least know a simple, a basic idea about it. But I would urge you, please, whichever technique or strategy that tackles your fancy and that you believe it will be suitable for you, you can actually go more depth, read about it and learn about it. These techniques or these strategies or our discussion today would fit with whatever you're doing. If you are doing master's thesis, a PhD thesis, a dissertation, if you are doing a research paper, a research project, whichever it is. So this is like the basic formula that you can understand, take it and tailor it, run with it and utilize it wherever you want. It's just to attract your attention on its importance and how it can help you and support you to contribute in your field of study. So I'm a believer that research is extremely important. Research is part and parcel of our every single day life. It is actually through research, we're creating new information, we're creating knowledge. So in order to reach there, how do we reach there? We have to understand what are the challenges, what are the assumptions, what are the things that we build things upon, and how are we going to find answers? How are we going to find solutions for challenges, for problems, for any complex issues that we meet personally or we meet in our professional life or we meet in our community and bigger society. So how to do that is that we do research, we conduct research in order to get those answers. But how do we reach this step? We reach it through gathering data, of course, and then analyzing data. And Dr. Derry mentioned a very important word or phrase when he was giving the introduction, when he was saying that in this world we're living in, we're swimming in data. Yeah, I'm not quoting his exact words, but I'm saying my understanding, my version of understanding what was he referring to. And he is spot on. And I believe that all of you would agree. We are right now in this age and era of social media. Some of you would be very young, some of you would be a little older, so you would remember how did we struggle before social media to get information. Right now, information is at the tip of our fingers. Look at me in New Zealand at the end of the bottom ocean, and you are at the other end of the world, and we are still communicating, right? We're communicating, we're talking with each other. That's because of technology. And how did we reach there? It happened through research, through data analysis, and finding solutions, and then becoming innovative, becoming creative, and having new ways of doing things. So as you can see, research is very important. But I'm sure that you heard what it's a very popular saying, rubbish in, rubbish out. So it's extremely important that you're very careful on choosing what type of data analysis you are going to use, and what technique you're going to put data first, and then how are you going to manage, how are you going to manipulate this data in order to reach the adequate, the effective, the correct results and answers, in order to help us in this ever-changing world with all these innovations and changes that's happening around us. So today, as I mentioned to you, I am going to concentrate more on the qualitative analysis in order to help you understand, because I'm the kind of person that likes to go deeper into things and know reasons behind why things happen, why human beings are acting in certain ways. I love people, I love human beings. I love to learn from their experiences. I would like to watch and see, is there any trends that's going on in the society? And in order to be able to survive this change, survive what we may see in the future. And this is also related to a huge, big field of sustainability. We're living in this ever-changing world. We are depleting our resources. We need to survive. We need to know also about sustainability and to have a quality of life for all of us and for the coming generations. So while I introduce you to those tools, techniques, strategies, ways of doing things, I will also provide you with some examples for you to ponder about. I believe that examples are extremely important to demonstrate how things are being practiced and to link and marry the theory with the practice. So what is this analysis? It's actually referring to a process. I am a believer that everything goes through a process. And I'm sure you can imagine the systems theory, which is 3 boxes. The first small box, inputs, the big middle box is process, and the final one is the output. That is the systems theory. And in the middle is the process. So I believe everything goes through a process. And we all know processes are steps, and we have to follow them in specific order. So data analysis is also a process. It's a process of inspecting. So remember, there are things that happened before the data analysis, and there are things that are going to happen afterwards. So data analysis is in the middle, impacting, and it goes again in a circle, in a loop. So before you do the data analysis, of course, you have to collect this data and bring it. So when you have it, You have to inspect it. You have to make sure, is this really what you wanted? It serves the purpose. And then you start tidying it. You start cleaning. You start weeding. Imagine yourself in the garden and you have your roses, but then you have those weeds coming out. They are actually sucking all this food from the soil that these flowers need. You have to get rid of them. You have to clean them. So you have to weed off, clean the extra data that may not be relevant to your research question. So in our research, you have to have a research question and you have to be focused, because in your specific project or dissertation or research paper, you have to be focused on that topic. You cannot research every single thing under the sun. Focus, okay? And then once you inspect and clean, then you are transforming it to something that is meaningful. And then you come out with modeling, some model, some answer, some solution. So, and then you discover this information and then you draw on conclusions. And that conclusion helps you. What is the next decision making you need to do? That's data analysis in a nutshell. So, as we all know, the main two types of data analysis is quantitative and qualitative. The qualitative one is non-numerical insights, that is, can be textual, visual, or auditory. The quantitative one are numerical numbers. How many people did this? How many people say yes? How many people say no? It's to do with quantifying the variables, identify statistical patterns. So this table that you can see, it just summarizes in a nutshell what are the similarities, maybe differences between the qualitative analysis and the quantitative. So if we're going to look at the data nature of the qualitative, it's non-numerical, it's words, it's images. The quantitative, it is statistical, it's graphs. The objective of the qualitative is to understand what are the concepts, what are the opinions, what's people's opinions, because these opinions impact on their attitudes and their actions, and also to learn from their experiences. If we look at the quantitative, it is to do with quantifying relationships between variables. The approach of the qualitative is subjective, exploratory. The approach is quantitative, is confirmatory and objective. So if the data collection for qualitative, of course, is different. There are interviews, there are observations, open-ended surveys. While in the quantitative, it is surveys, it's experiments, it's numerical records. How do we analyze? You see, a long time ago, this is one of the issues that used to be, the qualitative used to be attacked from. So we have still a lot of ways to analyze the data. There is thematic analysis, there is narrative, there's ground theory. In the quantitative, there's descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. So what's the outcome? The outcome of qualitative is very, very rich descriptions, and you see the patterns and what are the themes. Qualitative, it is generalizable conclusion, and of course it is statistical significance depending on the number of the population that was actually included in the surveys. Okay, what happened? Oh, so let us just look at quickly a brief overview on the quantitative data. As I mentioned, it is actually measured. It's written down in numbers like the age, the weight, the height, the test score. There's the descriptive statistical technique, which measures central tendency. I'm sure if you've done statistical analysis, you would be familiar with those terms: the mean, the median, the mode, the variability, the range, the standard deviation. And then the inferential statistics, you are testing a hypothesis. So you use the t-tests, the ANOVA, the correlation, the regression analysis. They have a lot of tools, a lot of softwares, like Excel and SPSS and Python in order to help you on your statistical analysis. Now let us talk about qualitative. So qualitative data, it includes, as I mentioned, non-numerical information. So when you're going and doing interviews, and hopefully before you go and do that, you are prepared, you have certain questions. You decide what type of questions that is related to, again, to your research question, the main one. You can have focus groups, and it's very important that you have some framework also. You just don't go there not prepared. I am sure that's another talk for another day. And there is also observation notes. An observation also has got its rules, its regulations, its different types of observations. I have done all of those, by the way, in my research. And there is also open-ended survey responses. Yeah, all of these, I've actually conducted them while I was doing my PhD years ago, and still utilize some of them in my research until now. So all this, it seeks to understand the deeper meaning, context, and the essence of this phenomena that you're trying to study, and you're trying to find out why it's happening. So there are different types of qualitative data. There is the textual data, which is the interview transcripts, whether you are writing, taking notes, you have shorthand, whether you are recording it, whether there are documents, open-ended surveys, responses. There's also the visual ones. You can take photos, you can record videos, you have diagrams, there is audio data, recordings of these interviews, as I mentioned, and conversations and speeches, if you went and attended somebody's speech also. So there's a process, as I mentioned to you, and for qualitative data analysis, you have to go through a process, and please remember, processes means those steps has to be in that specific order, or else it will impact, you'll be wasting your time. You will go back and you have to do it. So the first thing is what we call data familiarization. So you've decided what is your method of collecting your data, and now is the time that you're looking at this data that you've collected. You need to read through it several times. You need to be living in it, breathing it, seeing it, even smelling it. That's how much you have to be understanding to it. Okay? And then in this case, when you are doing that several times, each time, trust me, you will find out a new idea, a new pattern. That's human beings. That's how our brain works. The more you read, the more you get to understand. Then once you pass through that initial stage, then you go through the coding. And then you have to decide what kind of coding system that you would like to use, and how you are going to divide it, what kind of themes you are going to put it in it. It's up to you. You have to choose what's best for you. There is nothing called one size fits all. And then maybe you'd come out with different themes. There is the theme of anxiety, there's the theme of trust. It depends, of course, what your research on. Then afterwards, when you categorize things and code them, then you start generating themes, okay? You group things together to identify, is there a certain pattern that's going on? And then you try to understand, when you have those certain patterns, you try to understand the concepts. And you try to see, where am I heading? What's this data? It's talking to me. What is it telling me? Okay? And then next phase, review and refining the themes. And that's very time consuming, and it needs a focus. You need to ensure that those themes are accurately present the data. Okay? That's very important. And then you need to revise them again and refine them and adjust them as much as needed. Then you've done that, you start going deeper, thinking, analyzing, and then drawing conclusions. Okay, you see? You need to relate those findings together. You need to relate them with also the literature. When we are doing research, also, that's part I'm sure you know about, you need to go and research what has been written about this topic before, what kind of research. Some people call it literature review, some people call it whatever they want to call it, looking at the theories, what are the different frameworks. You need to do your homework first. Then when you do that part of the data analysis, you need to relate it with your findings, similar to other findings or different. Was there some similarities, some differences? What are they? So these are the interpretations. This demonstrates your critical thinking and depth of analysis. And this is when you sometimes submit a paper and your lecturer would come and tell you, I don't think there is enough depth in it. This is what they mean, that you did not think deeper in it. You did not link those findings, and they want more. They want to encourage you to have a more critical thinking and depth in your analysis, which is demonstrated in your reporting. So let's look at the techniques of a qualitative analysis. Thematic analysis, and this is your identifying patterns or themes in your data that you've collected. So you're trying to see what are the common things that popped up, for example, from the results of your interview data.
Dr. Siham, excuse me. Dr. Siham, can we actually see your slides? Some of the students are cannot see your slides.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're asking me.
Okay, shall I stop and start again?
Yeah, yes, please, Dr. Siham. The teachers and the students are asking. They can't see the slide.
Oh, since when they couldn't see?
They only saw the first slide.
Oh my God! Why didn't tell me? I'm in slide number 13.
It's okay, Dr. Siham. Go on to slide number 13.
I'm so sorry.
No
You know,
worries.
sometimes I don't know what happens when I make the slides bigger. This happens. So I am not going. I'm not gonna make it the full screen. Obviously, when I do full screen, it doesn't show. So I'm not gonna do it full screen. I don't know why the system does that. So okay, I'm sharing it with no full screen. My apologies. Please, you should have told me. Okay, so now, okay, if I do that.
Yes, we can actually see it. Thank you.
If I move.
There,
See
it's
now?
moving. Yeah.
Oh, I'm moving them to make sure you can see. So, okay, so that was the process of qualitative data. Here you go. That was the steps that I just finished talking about. Okay. Now, I am going, maybe I should enlarge it here. Is that okay now?
Dr. Siham, it's clear.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about some of the techniques. And the first one that I was talking about was the thematic analysis. Okay, and this is when you're trying to find themes and you've done an interview, you've spent a lot of time, and then, oh, by the way, when you go, I urge you to go and read deeper, because you need to know how to do it. Remember, I am telling you all those ideas and giving you snippets about it. But it's very interesting and it's beautiful. Like, for example, when you talk about thematic analysis, some people, what they do, they read. As I mentioned to you here, remember? If we go back to this one, when you are reading, you're reading the data several times. And then you go down and you do the, the coding, okay? How are you gonna get it? You say, oh, how am I gonna get that? So I'll tell you, for me, what I used to do is that I get, all those colored pens, all those, those highlighters. I have the bag that has got all the colors, the different colors, and you decide which color is going to be which theme. Or some of the people would prefer pens and put a line underneath the different themes. So you choose what works for you. What do you like? I love colors and playing with colors. So anyway, but you need to have a key. When you have a figure and you have to have the key for the figure, so you have to write, this yellow is for anxiety, for example. That red is for fear. That green is for excitement. whatever you want. It's up to you. Remember, it's your research. So you do whatever you want, whatever works for you. So you choose. So that there are different techniques and different ways of doing it. Now, let's go to also the narrative analysis. And as you can tell from the word, it's the narration, it's a narrative, the stories of people. People sit there and talk to you and tell you your stories. And then you write their stories and then you reflect on them and experiences. So please remember, each technique fits with different styles of research. So before you reach the data analysis part, you would have given it the depth and thought. What is your research? What do you want to do? What do you want to find out? And then choose the best analytical technique that fits with your research and your topic and your phenomena that you want to find. Then there's the ground theory, which is a process where the data collection and analysis happens simultaneously in order to generate theory grounded in the data. This has got its rules, its regulations. So again, there is no one size fits all. I am just providing you with a smorgasbord. It's like when you're going to a restaurant and it's an open buffet. These are the different styles and different types. You cannot eat every single thing at the same time, right? It depends on that night, what you feel, how hungry, what you want. Now let's go to the content analysis. And this is a systematic a coding way in order you are categorizing the textual information. You want also to see what are the themes, what are the trends, what are the patterns. Okay? And I will be giving you examples, by the way, for each and every one of those to see how possible it can relate to the way you are doing research. And then the final is discourse analysis. You're examining the language, okay? You're examining the conversations, the social interactions in order for you to understand this world, that environment around you. Okay, let's have some examples. Okay, so if we're going to go to the first one, the thematic analysis. If you remember, I told you it is extremely important that you have a research question. You cannot conduct research without having a research question, right? We agree on that point? Do we agree? No? No answer? Nobody wants to answer. Okay, I take your silence as agreement.
Oh.
So the research question for this one, for example, how do students feel about remote learning during the COVID-19 pandemic? Let us suppose that is your research question. And then data. How are you going to collect data? It's important. You cannot do analysis without collecting data. So you've decided I am going to interview 20 students to discuss their experiences with remote learning. Of course, they've gone through it. So you want to know what's their experience. So what are the steps you're going to go through? The first one, remember the process, the formalization, as we mentioned. You have to read through those interviews transcripts multiple times to understand each and every student's perspective, right? Right. Every time you read, you will get more information, trust me. Then the next part, once you finish that, you need to start coding. You need to start highlighting the sections where the student mentioned their emotions. So maybe loneliness, frustration, some of them motivation, excitement, some of them it's, for example, it's convenience, I don't know, whatever it is, you code it. And then you group them into themes. And then you put the theme generation, you put group codes. You decide how you want to code it. There is a lot of books and research that is written to help you for coding. See? So that's another topic for another day that can take over hours to explain how to code. You need to know about coding. You need to go and read about coding. Okay? So you are going to have the broader themes like isolation, technological challenges, lack of engagement, things like that. Now you've grouped all those, you generated themes. Now you need to start analyzing. You need to interpret those themes and conclude that the students struggle with feelings of isolation and find it hard to stay motivated without the face-to-face interaction. And by the way, we cannot generalize, it depends. So now, what is the outcome of this research question? For example, the research suggests that remote learning, while necessary during the pandemic, it can be negatively impacting the students' well-being due to the lack of personal interaction. Okay, that's an example. Let's go and look at another example, which is the narrative analysis. So let us say your research question is that related to us. What stories do refugees share about the resettlement experiences in New Zealand? I'm not sure, but here in New Zealand, we have, of course, the government has got a deal with the United Nations, and we have the quota system for refugees. So we get a lot of refugees. We have huge centers here, and we have every quarter or every, yes, that we receive a lot of refugees in the country. So we need to, in resettling them here in New Zealand, looking at their background, what they've been through. You want to do a research and about their experience. So you start saying, I'm going to interview these 10 refugees, or they can be 10 refugees, families, of course, and you ask them to narrate their journey from their home country or wherever they were until they came here to New Zealand and settled. So this is through storytelling. That's different, okay? So it's not really, these type of interviews are different. So you start from, again, the steps that you have to go through. You familiarize yourself with the data. Again, you code it, you analyze it, you interpret it. And then, for example, you come at the end, the study reveals that refugees often describe the resettlement process as a journey of hope. They are coming to a new country and they are trying to adapt, okay? And this is highlighted through their challenges. They're coming to a new culture and trying to adjust to it. If we're looking to the grounded theory, an example would be, how do teachers adapt to the integration of digital technologies in the classroom? This is also a very hot topic that we were confronted with, and we're still confronted with. So you keep on doing ongoing in interviews. You can do it over 6 months. So sometimes we have longitudinal studies, short term, long term, and you start asking them. And sometimes maybe you want to observe them and then talk to them. You can add other parts, not only interviewing. You can have focus groups if you want. And again, you start gathering the data, you do the coding, you look at the constant comparison because it's going over time. And then you start building a theory. And that's a grounded theory emerges, suggesting that teachers' adaptation to digital technologies follows a pattern of initial resistance. As you all know, we all hate change. So there is resistance at the beginning because we're fear of the unknown. And then gradually we get smooth, we get into it, we start learning, and then we eventually integrate it in our teaching practice. I'm sure the teachers will relate to that. There is also the content analysis. An example, how are women portrayed in political campaigns and advertisements? So for example, you can choose to collect 100 political advertisements from various political parties over 5 years, for example. That's a longitudinal study. And you start looking at it, analyzing this data, categorizing it, quantifying it, and then also identifying themes, you see, and analyzing it. There's also the discourse analysis. An example, how do news media discuss climate change? So you're trying to gather articles also from different news, and you're over a period of 1 year, and then you find out what is the discourse, what kind of language do they use. They say climate emergency, economic impact, individual responsibility, and pick it up and start analyzing the language they are using in order to be able to look what also is the social context, and what is the end result of it. How do they look at it? Maybe they are looking at it from an environmental way, or an economical way, or social way. It depends on your results. So also, if you remember, I mentioned to you earlier today that quite a while ago, the people who were into quantitative used to attack a qualitative in relation to validity and reliability, because a while ago we did not have the tools like statistical tools like SPSS and all those kind of softwares. But right now, it's been for a while. I've had my PhD ages ago, and the tool that I used was called Nudist. Okay, and immediately NVivo came after that. And the first version of Nudist was very difficult, that software, but then they improved it after that. And now the most popular one is NVivo. That software, it helps you to organize and analyze your data. And there is a MAD QDA, and there is Atlas TI, and all those are useful tools, softwares to help you. Again, your choice depends on what fits best with your research and what would support you better. I think I'm going to skip through that, and let's look at the challenges. So the challenges in qualitative data analysis. Every single thing in life has got its pros and cons. We do have challenges, and the most important one is the volume of the data. If you remember in the process, I mentioned to you cleaning, that you need to make sure, is it relevant or not? I still have boxes and boxes of information and recordings. When I was doing my PhD, I was drowning in data. There's a lot of data, and that can be overwhelming if you do not know how to manage it. Also, the subjectivity is an important topic. I was insistent in my research that I go and do the interviews myself, to be close to the people and to be able to help me in analyzing my data. But I've heard lots of colleagues who chose to employ other people who will go and do the interviews for them because they were very busy. That can be useful because it's time consuming, it's less time consuming, but in these cases you have to train those the people who are going to interview, and it's like a sword with two edges. So you have to be very careful with that. And sometimes people would say that the researchers, because they are ingrained in it, they may be biased. That depends on characters, how you deal with it, and how you disconnect yourself. Anyway, and also it is time intensive. As I mentioned to you, it takes time to read and read and read, code and analyze and reflect on these data that you've got. So it's very important in every field that we look at what is the best practice for us. So the best practice for the qualitative data analysis is to ensure rigor. You have to use multiple coders to reduce subjectivity or engage in several checks. That's why you read again and you read again and you leave it and you come back. We need to have validity and reliability in our research results. Also, using software tools, as I mentioned to you, it was a gift, a blessing. It's creative ways to analyze. Long time ago, we would say it's very difficult to analyze qualitative data, but we're lucky. We can analyze qualitative data, as I mentioned to you, the different softwares. There's also data triangulation, which is very important. I utilize that. You can use mixed methods, or you can have the qualitative, quantitative. You can have different types of data analysis, and that can be a triangulation tool in order to provide the required validity and reliability in your research. In conclusion, while both qualitative and quantitative data analysis are essential for research, I believe qualitative analysis provide unique colorful, deep insight into the experiences, the perspectives of these themes and the data. It is a pleasure to go and talk to people and take their opinions, their experiences. It offers you a depth in the understanding of human nature, why things happen this way. So combining actually both methods, we as researchers can create a more comprehensive picture of the phenomena that we are studying. So I would like to wish you all the best, and I would like to thank you for listening, and I hope that I managed to give you some ideas to open your beautiful mind to go deeper into some of those areas, to choose from them. Again, it's like a buffet, and you choose what fits best for you. God bless you all.
Wow. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Siham, for that comprehensive sharing of the qualitative and the quantitative data analysis. And yeah, would like to ask I think there's one student who would like to ask a question, Dr. Siham. We only have a few minutes with our guest speaker. I think someone from 11 Saint Scholastica raised his hand. Go ahead. Please state your name.
Constantia.
Constantia, go ahead. Go ahead from 11 Saint
Muted.
Scholastica.
He's muted.
I have a question po.
Okay, go ahead. Ask Dr. Siham.
He's muted.
How many participants should be included in qualitative research po?
Dr. Siham, he's
I can
asking
hear.
how many participants
yeah,
are
yeah.
required.
Look, the qualitative research is different than the quantitative. I know that the number of participants and what we call it sampling. Sampling is extremely important. That's another field to talk about in another day. But to give you a quick answer is it depends on what is your research question. Are you doing case studies? What is the availability? And what would fit best for you? And you can keep on interviewing non-endlessly, and you will always, if you're hungry for knowledge, you have to stop at some stage. So you have to decide from the beginning, is that what fits best for you. So let me give you the example, my example. When I was doing my PhD years and years and years ago, we had this issue of lots of attacks, for example, on case studies. That this is one of the key things about qualitative research is generalizations. You cannot generalize. The key thing is to learn, to get examples and to learn from them. So my research was about drinking water quality, the quality of the water that when you open the tap at home and drink it, what's the quality? So before that, I first started by knowing what are the rules, what is the WHO, how do they purify the water, how do they clean it, what is the environment, I did all the ground rules. And then afterwards, of course, I did triangulation, I did qualitative, quantitative. But what was the key thing? I had 9 case studies. 9. And why 9? You'll ask me, why 9? I did my studies on every single territorial authorities in the region that I lived in. And that was the Waikato region. I chose that. I prepared myself from the beginning. And how many managers inside that I interviewed, I had to go and study and find out who are the key people. I spent a lot of time studying sampling. So you are the researcher. You decide for yourself. So I spent a lot of time to see what is the best style and type of sampling, what fits with you, what are you capable of finding. You can say, I want to do X amount of number, but when you go and talk to people, they don't want to talk to you. So you need also to prepare yourself and do the ground rules. So I did a lot of experimentation at the beginning. I done a lot of things, visited people, phoned people, talked, and what I'm giving you is the result of one whole year of trying to find out what is the best way. A whole year of my life, a whole year of my life to decide about this sampling. So sampling is key and it's very important. And that's another field. You have to go and read about it. And for my shock, I found people doing a PhD and they had less than their two hands that they interviewed them. And they saying, whoa, 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 we've done something big. And I look at them like that. I said, whoa, I did interviews, I did observations, I did documentations, I did every single thing so that when the time comes and I'm defending my thesis, nobody can attack from the validity and the reliability point. I hope I answered your question.
Wow, thank you. We'll have another one, quick one. Grazel from 11 STEM, go ahead.
Good morning po. Good morning, Dr. Siham. I'm Grizel Quinto from 11 SEM St. Benedict. I would just like to ask po, how valid and reliable are qualitative researches, or how can we make them valid and reliable?
Thank you very much, Grizel, for your answer. I already mentioned that in my last slide, if you remember, and I just mentioned it now with my example, is that you can do triangulation. That is the solution. Triangulation is the best way of doing it. It's I love triangulation, and when I first did it, it was a new technique, and my supervisor was so proud of me. And when we go to conferences together, he would go and talk to people and tell them, Siham, what is triangulation? Explain to them. Because my supervisor was an economist. He didn't know anything about that. And that's the beauty of it, that you keep on searching and learning. So if you have triangulation can be by mixed methods. That's one way of doing it. Triangulation can be also by multiple data collection methods. That's the short, precise, to the point answer.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sia. I think we have two more. Let's hear from Joshua. Joshua Marisigan, go ahead.
Yes, hello. I'm Joshua Marsigan representing St. John the Baptist. And I would like to ask a question concerning the review of related literature. Specifically as to, is there a way to use RRL to further support the data samples I might extract in the future?
Thank you very much, Joshua. What is the abbreviation standing for? My apologies, I don't know it. I
The
never
review of
claimed I know
related
everything. Yes?
RRL stands for the review of related literature, but
Dr. Siham, Joshua is asking for the use of the review of related literature, the RRL.
Yes, sir. What about
you made mention earlier that in the data analysis, remember that there are themes. Remember, you made mention themes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you have to be able to substantiate that theme using literature.
Okay. Well, this is a very theoretical question that is very difficult to answer it without an actual example. So, for example, let's take one of the examples that I mentioned, and we say that there has been a lot of research right now about the impact of COVID-19 and the use of technology or online teaching and learning. Okay, so let us say that, and then you come and you found out that my results of my research says that even though it is very convenient, I found lots of students saying it's very convenient to them, and they are grateful that even though COVID was there and they were in lockdown, but still they benefited from studying online. Okay, but some of the people said, no, I was disengaged, while other of the people said, oh, but I was lonely and felt human lack of human contact. So we have three themes here we're talking about. So what happens is that when you read in your literature, you should have read that somebody did another research and talked about it. So you will come at the end in your findings and your analysis of the findings and say, this is what I found, and this is related to what Joshua so-and-so mentioned in his research, in his publications in 2023. Last year. You're doing your research this year. And that guy made his research in maybe the US, and you're doing your research in the Philippines. So you're linking, you're demonstrating that some of your results confirm other people's results who they made it in the US in such schools, but you did it here in the Philippines in 2024. That answer your question?
To clarify my understanding, the review of related literature helps with the research to connect with other related literature and create a network for these two to further back up each other, basically. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, not only. No. Literature review is actually, you are surveying what has been done before. You cannot do literature if you cannot do any research if you did not review what was done before. When we start, we go back. We look at the very old theories. We look at the models. Because sometimes you are going to build your whole research on a specific model. So for example, if we're going to look at motivation, okay, literature review talks about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And you have to go through this hierarchy in order to motivate your employee. And your research is talking about motivation and how you are going to motivate. You're taking it from management, for example, from employees. You want to talk about it from students, for example. How are you going to motivate them? Okay? Or you want to take McGregor's theory X and Y, whatever. And that is the model that you are going to build your questions, your research questions, and go and investigate it. So it's not only that, what you mentioned, I was answering a specific question. Now your question changed. You're asking about something else. And that's something else. You're asking about what is the value of literature review. There is a lot of values. You can build your research on models that has been done before. What is your research question? You are talking from theory. I don't think you have a specific research right now. So you're asking in general, what is the value? What is the importance of literature review? There's a lot of values. We discussed two of them, and I urge you to go and read more. The more you read, the more you will learn. But for that few minutes, I cannot give you my knowledge of 40 plus years. Sorry.
Thank you very much,
It's okay.
Dr. Siham.
Yeah,
Thank you very much,
unfortunately,
Joshua.
I have to rush because I have another class.
Okay,
Yes, I understand.
so
Thank
yeah, thank you very much, Joshua. And yeah, I think that will be it. I think Dr. Siham, she has a class. And yeah, I think it was really a very engaging session with Dr. Siham. And
Thank you.
would like to thank you again, Professor Dr. Siham El Kafafi, for your insightful presentation on the research data analysis. Your expertise and your passion for the subject have illuminated our understanding, or our students' understanding, and inspired us all to think critically about the data that surrounds us. We appreciate your time and your effort and your dedication to sharing your knowledge with our students and our teachers. As we conclude today's session, I want to express my gratitude to everyone present for your participation and engagement. I know a lot of questions, And the insights gained today will undoubtedly enrich our learning journey and let us carry the knowledge we have acquired into our studies and future endeavors. Thank you all for being here and have a wonderful day ahead. Dr. Siham, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Derry. Thanks for everybody. My apologies. I was not able to answer all your questions. I am so sorry. You have another class. It's always a pleasure to be with you guys. We can have another session. Okay, God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Siham, to our teachers at St. Patrick's School, to our friends in the Association of the Private Administrators in Quezon City, Dr. Tessa, thank you very much. And to our students of St. Patrick's School, Quezon City, thank you all for joining us. And the other students from the other schools, I think, have joined us as well. Dr. Tessa, thank you very much. Dr. Siham, we'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.